Hey, it's Empire, Geoboxing Empire, Backstory Boxing. Now, man, wild stuff, man. Kell Brook Khan finally happened, man. It has been the fight, the grudge match that everyone wanted in the UK. Khan vs. Kell Brook, man. It finally happened, and it's wild because I thought Khan was going to have a better chance of winning this fight just because, the competition he's fought throughout his career. He beat Luis Collazo before Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman almost got stopped by Luis Collazo with a body shot, right? Walked through Devin Alexander, Amir Khan, just beat so many elite level fighters, right? Marcus Madonna, power puncher. I thought that he was seasoned enough to get past a Kell Brook, right? Kell Brook's notable wins is only really Sean Porter. That's his really big marquee win to win the title, right? Everything else is speculation as far as, if he would have beat the other guys in the division at the time. But really the fight that really destroyed him was the Triple G fight. All that being said, man, Kell Brook ended up stopping Amir Khan it was a 6th round, and the ref stopped it. Apparently, during the fight, it was wild. Khan started off really fast, really well. I gave him the first 2 rounds, but as soon as Khan started getting touched, he started moving around the ring too much, and his defense started breaking down. And Kell Brook was just not respecting Amir Khan's power at all, walked him down, and just threw bombs, and walked him down with a jab and was just going for broke. And that ultimately, that broke Khan. It's wild. The beginning of the end for Amir Khan is when Kell Brook threw a double jab in round 6 that wobbled Amir Khan. And at that point, Khan was basically just in survival mode to the point where the ref basically hopped in the fight and he stopped the fight for Amir Khan because it was only the beginning of the end. If he got, hurt with a jab, we all knew what was going to come next. Amir Khan getting stopped. Understand that this fight was more for the fans than an actual meaningful fight, but it was more to settle it once and for all who's really the better fighter. All that being said, man, Kell Brook, he has a bright future from here, man. He can actually, I think what he should do is he should fight guys like a Victor Postal, bring guys up for 140 to get his confidence back up in weight. A lot of fighters do it. For example, David Benavidez, former WBC 168 champion, he's bringing up David Lemieux from 160 to 168, right? His last couple fights have been fighters from a smaller weight class bringing him up in weight. So this has been done all the time in boxing, happens all the time in boxing. When you have big name fighters, they'll basically fight a skilled fighter, but they'll bring him up in weight. And Kell Brook has already fought the best of the best. He's already fought Triple G and Errol Spence Jr. There's really nothing for him to prove. And Terrence Crawford, there's really nothing for him to prove. There's no point in fighting these big names because he's already fought the champions and he came up short. So at this point in Kell Brook's career, maybe he can start doing things like bringing up smaller fighters and having fights where, his eye injuries won't be permanent, right? Fighting any big power punchers or any top elite hard hitters at 147, it'll only ruin Kell Brook to the point where it won't just be a fight, it can be permanent damage. And we don't want to see that, man. We want to see skills on display, and Kell Brook is very skilled. A lot of people had Kell Brook outboxing Terrence Crawford until he got stopped. A lot of people had that. Me personally, I thought it was a really close fight. It was really competitive. All Kell Brook's fights are really competitive fights until ultimately he got stopped. So that being said, Kell Brook skill-wise is definitely among the best of the best, and this is only good news for Kell Brook. Amir Khan is loved and adored in the Middle East. I understand that his career will be fine. Their politics and their society is different over there. Khan knows princes and things like that, big money guys over there in the Middle East. Oil guys, people, big money over there. So Amir Khan will be perfectly fine. His career won't really, outside of boxing, it's secure. Kell Brook needed this because he doesn't have that kind of heft that Amir Khan has culturally, right? Kell Brook really strapped to the UK from head to toe. So he doesn't really have that Middle Eastern connect. So this is good for Kell Brook, man. I'm proud to see it. After that Errol Spence fight, Kell Brook, there's no doubt about it, he had to go in some kind of depression for sure. It's good to see a smile on Kell Brook's face after this win. The celebration was epic, and only it's just it's great seeing a smile on his face. Now, after the fight, they shook hands and they seemed real cordial. And, at the end of the day, hands did the talking, and it was all settled in the ring. So I'm really glad that this ended in a good note. Both men shook hands. They got it all out the way. But before the fight, man, there was really bad blood between the fighters. Kell Brook did not want to shake Amir Khan's hands. If you actually watched the gloves are off, right, by Sky Sports, he did not want to shake Amir Khan's hands because he said, man, this is personal, and this is a grudge match. And it was, man, it was personal. Kell Brook did not come to box. He came to bang. And that was the right thing to do against Amir Khan, getting him the victory, right? It was all a mental game. It was a mental game. This fight was a more of a imposing your will on the fighter. That's what this fight was all about. And Kell Brook understand that he's a natural 147 fighter. He started his career at 147. Amir Khan, he started his career at a smaller weight class, so he's always been a naturally smaller fighter. So Amir Khan using his speed to bully Kell Brook, it was a bad idea. He was using his speed to impose himself on him, but he should have used it more in a box. But at the end of the day, while Khan moves faster than Kell Brook, the fundamentals of Kell Brook really beat Amir Khan, right? His timing was too good. He timed Amir Khan. After Amir Khan started landing punches, Kell Brook just started timing him. He started using his jab. He started walking him down. And eventually he just started disrespecting Amir Khan by just throwing power shots. He didn't even worry about Amir Khan anymore, because once you hit Amir Khan hard enough, he sort of goes into survival mode. He doesn't really know what to do, right? He doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't know how to hold clinch. He doesn't know how to, he doesn't know how to buy time, much like Bernard Hopkins. Really, a lot of old fighters, a lot of old veterans, they know how to slow the pace down on these young, hungry dogs, right? Kell Brook was definitely coming to bring it to Amir Khan, and Khan did not know how to slow the fight down. Kell Brook just kept coming forward, and while Amir Khan was trying to hold it inside, he did well. He really couldn't stop the momentum happening, the momentum shift from Kell Brook. It's easier said than done. Once you get hurt, you're thinking about survival. You're not really thinking about the fundamentals. Amir Khan basically went into survival mode and became real predictable and basically became a shell. He became a point where he was moving around the ring and he was just blocking. He went into survival mode. And if you're not really throwing anything back, you're not really clinching well enough, it's gonna, you're gonna get caught eventually, and it's gonna be that. That's gonna be that. I think Amir Khan actually moves faster than Kell Brook, but unfortunately for him, Kell Brook just got the better of him. He got the better of him. So, this is a really big deal, man. I'm glad to see this fight finally unfold. People in America even talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. This definitely was a fight that everyone around the world wanted to see, and it finally happened. This was definitely an epic fight, an all-time great fight over there. One of those fights that are going to be in history in the UK. So this is one of those things that I'm happy to see it, man. Remind me of the Anthony Joshua versus Dillian White fight. A lot of people wanted someone to get knocked out cold. Do we really need to see that? It would have been nice to see someone get stopped, but at the end of the day, these are human beings. We don't need to see people really get hurt in the ring. So that being said, man, the best man won. The best man won tonight, and it happened to be Kell Brook. So I don't think he's just gonna retire from here. I think Kell Brook has a future as far as a couple more fights goes. Maybe he can, maybe he can get some Commonwealth titles. There's just a lot of things he can do. I think at this point in Kell Brook's career, people know who he is already. And if Derek Chisora can still be relevant, with multiple losses, I think Kell Brook can too. And I don't think he needs to fight the biggest names to really have the UK audience really back Kell Brook. Kell Brook has only lost to super big names, the pound for pound best fighters in the world, and Triple G when he was running through middleweights. First loss, Triple G, Errol Spence Jr. About to be, he's unified champion right now in the welterweight division. A lot of people have him gonna be favored to win 3 of the 4 titles against Uganis Ugas in February. So the writing's on the wall. Kell Brook's lost to unusual fighters. Fighters that people were saying that Errol Spence Jr. gave Floyd Mayweather a black eye. Errol Spence Jr. AKA The Truth, AKA Big Fish. It's just Kell Brook lost to fighters that are very unusual. Understand that Terrence Crawford was the first fighter in this era to become undisputed. Around his, he's the first one in this era to become undisputed. Before him, no one was really doing it like that. After him, and then Alexander Usyk became undisputed, and then Josh Taylor became undisputed, and then Canelo became undisputed. He's really the get that whole undisputed thing trending. He became undisputed before undisputed was cool. So that being said, man, Kell Brook has fought the best of the best, and the fighters he's fighting is historic. He will definitely be among the top guys, in boxing when we look back on it, much like Thomas the Hitman Hearns, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Marvin Hagler. We're going to look back and say, Kell Brook was that guy. So, let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Great fight from Kell Brook, man. The thing was settled. Let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Empire. GeoBoxing Empire. Peace. GeoBoxing Empire. Peace.